Some people look at our life and wonder how in the world we do it. Of course, our lifestyle has its challenges, but when lived with intention, it's very doable. We want to show you what a day on the homestead looks like for us right now. It's going to be different than it was a few months ago when we did our summer day in the life video, since now we're in the late fall and early winter season. We'll start with my morning routine, and then Cody will tell you about his. I start with an hour of quiet time, then the kids get up and it's time to get going. This morning, I'm starting out feeding my sourdough starter and getting the kids started with their day. It's flu season, and this year I made up my mind that I'm going to give my kids elderberry. Moringa Vinga has this amazing elderberry and holy basil infusion, and I am giving it to my kiddos every day right now because the holidays are coming up and there's nothing worse than missing out on holiday gatherings because your kids are sick. I also take this infusion myself because it has apple cider vinegar in it, which is really good for digestion, and it also has adaptogenic herbs in it that really help with stress. Absolutely love this infusion. I'm headed upstairs to get some computer work done while Cody oversees breakfast.
I got up this morning and worked out, made my protein chocolate milk, and got some work done in my little closet office. Now you may wonder why I would be taking care of the kids' breakfast. In our last day in the life video, you saw me leave for work, but today is different, and it's not the weekend. I am now full-time doing YouTube and online business, so this is my day job now. It literally is a full-time job. Before, I was basically just working 2 full-time jobs. We knew we couldn't do that forever. We're still gonna have to figure this schedule out. I'm not sure how it's gonna all work out, but what we'd like to do is have me do some computer work early in the morning and then come down here and take care of the kids and breakfast while Michelle does her computer stuff and gets work done, and then we'll probably switch off again. So we've got a lot of things to figure out, but it's really exciting because I'm hoping this can just open a whole new world of what we can do with this channel, how much content we can give to you guys, and how much effort we can put into it and make you even better and better videos. Because like Michelle said in the last video, it's not only that we want to inspire you, but we also want to build confidence in that you can do this kind of lifestyle too. One thing that I for sure don't want to happen is that you get the idea that the only way we can do this is because Cody's at home and he can just do this YouTube thing and be at home. The YouTube thing is a full-time job. So I will still be working a full-time job while I'm homesteading. So I'm really hoping we can build that confidence in you that you can also do this as well with whatever full-time job that you have. The kids are gonna have oatmeal this morning, making some burger for Michelle. I also like using this Moringa Vinga stuff. I just really feel like it's a nice immunity boost. I take it a little different than they do. Bottoms up. Might have noticed that my morning routine didn't include any chores, which is a little abnormal for a homesteader, right? So actually right now there are very minimal chores. I'm not milking right now. Our cow is dry. She's due to have a calf in about 2 weeks. So I'm not doing the milking. Now I usually do give her water about every other day or so, but I decided to wait to do that until it was daylight this morning because I want to move her from one pasture to the other. So I'm going to go out there and do that right now. We also have chickens, but Izzy does those chores every morning. He feeds them, gives them water. So that's really nice for me. It's also a really good job for him to do, learning responsibility and everything. They're in their winter housing now. They're looking nice and cozy. This is working really good for them. I've been bringing water to Maddie back here, but as she's getting closer to having her calf, I want her up front so that I for sure don't miss it. Also, we're gonna be gone for a couple days here soon, and somebody else is gonna be doing the chores, so it'll be a lot easier for them to give her water up here. They can use the hose then. There's actually a decent amount of grass left in this pasture, so I'm gonna give her at least a few days to eat some of this grass, but it's not gonna be too long until she's on hay. And that's another reason she needs to be up here. I could take hay back there, but it's way more of a pain. Plus, I'm gonna be using round bales mostly, and I'll just set them up here. This is a free tip. I've got my water for my cow during the winter close enough to a hydrant that I just have a short hose so that it's easy to put it downhill a little bit and let it drain out. The only thing that freezes is the water tank here itself, and that's pretty easy just to, if I need to, if it's really frozen, turn it upside down, knock the ice out, and put water back in it.
This is normally when I would be doing homeschool with the children, but today is Monday, which is my Monday reset day, and so I am going to meal prep. I am grabbing stuff out of the freezers in the root cellar so that I can go upstairs and start prepping for the week. The first thing on my menu is zuppa toscana, and so I'm grabbing some hamburger for that, as well as hamburger for my breakfast and Cody's breakfast. Also going to grab some raspberry jam for the week. Another one of my meals is roast beef with autumn squash soup, like the Panera copycat. I'm gonna grab 2 of these beef chuck blade roasts. These are my all-time favorite roasts. I'm also gonna grab some chicken. These are like backs and necks and pieces that wouldn't be so great to eat as baked chicken. And I'm gonna make bone broth with these. I'm also gonna grab just a bag of normal like wings, thighs, and drumsticks. And I'm gonna make a simple baked chicken with sweet potato fries for another meal. The children recently have been enjoying strawberries and milk for a snack. So I have pureed strawberries that I froze this summer. And I broke the container. I'm now gonna go into the root cellar and grab all the veggies that I need. Grabbing some onions. And here I'm gonna use these 2 squash for a butternut squash soup. Grab some potatoes for the zuppa toscana. That is one of our all-time favorite soups and it's so easy. Gonna grab some sweet potatoes for sweet potato fries to go with our baked chicken. I'm gonna grab a bag of carrots to take upstairs. I like to keep some carrots upstairs in the refrigerator. These carrots will go into the butternut squash soup. I always like to start out meal prep making bone broth. I try to get a gallon of bone broth into our family each week. Bone broth is so good for immunity. So especially in the winter months, I like to try to get lots of it into us through soups and stews, even in mashed potatoes and things like that. You can season your bone broth however you like. I mostly just do like salt and pepper, paprika, thyme, just anything like that. I also do just a splash of apple cider vinegar. And then I fill it with water to the fill line in my Instant Pot. This will also depend on how many bones you use. If you find that your broth isn't gelling the way you want it to once it chills in the fridge, that just means that you have too much water for the amount of bones that you have. I set my Instant Pot on low pressure for 3 hours. You can do more than that if you like, but I found that 3 hours works really great for me. On Mondays, part of my meal prep is making bread. I like to make some fresh sourdough bread for the week. Some weeks I make sourdough bread twice a week. Some weeks I make it once a week. It just kind of depends. I find that if we have bread around and there's a meal that is unexpected or that there's not leftovers from the evening before, bread makes so that you can have a really quick meal on the table in like 10 minutes. Normally I use whole grain spelt flour, and of course today I ran out. Running out of that doesn't happen very often because we have it in bulk in our basement, but I just somehow missed getting it ordered, so I'm gonna have to use some white flour today. This white flour is what I normally use to just feed my starter. It is organic, unbleached, all-purpose. I usually homeschool from around 9:30, 9:45 to 11 o'clock, but since this is Monday and like everything in the world needs to be done on Monday, it's like there's laundry everywhere and there's always dishes everywhere. I just skip homeschooling on Mondays and I focus on prepping for the week. I call it my Monday reset, and it really helps the rest of the week to go really smoothly. As most of you already know, cooking isn't my favorite thing about homesteading. It's a very essential part of homesteading because you have to prepare the food that you grew. So obviously it's very important. And it's not like I don't find any joy in cooking. It's just that I don't really enjoy the process. And so I like to simplify things for myself. A big day of cooking would look way too big to me, so big to me that I would just never do it because I don't enjoy cooking. So for my meal prep day, all that I do is I wash and peel and chop all the vegetables for however many meals I need for the week. I just prep dinner. I don't prep lunch. I try to make a big enough meal at dinner that we can have leftovers for lunch the next day. People often ask me how I can homeschool while I'm living a lifestyle like this. The thing is, I don't homeschool in the thick of gardening and preserving. I don't even try to do that. I feel like homesteading in itself is such an amazing way for your children to learn. And a lot of the things I found that they're learning in their science books are things that they learn automatically on a farm. Since I know people are gonna ask, I use Masterbooks curriculum to homeschool my kids. I love that curriculum. I do an hour and a half of homeschool 4 days out of the week. And then my kids also read for an hour like every single afternoon, and that really continues their learning. I get my kids assessed by a licensed teacher at the end of every year, and they've always passed with flying colors. So one thing that you have to remember, if that doesn't sound like enough for you, you really have to remember that in public schools, There's so much dead time, like in between classes, going from class to class, recesses, and also just the fact that the teachers are having to deal with 20 kids instead of only 4. I also only homeschool from October through May. A lot of homeschoolers would do more months than that, but I would rather double up a little bit from October to May and not have homeschool at the same time as gardening and preserving. And it works out beautifully for us, it really does. And by the way, I'm only prepping out 3 meals for this week because the end of this week is Thanksgiving and we have lots of plans with family, etc. And so this week I only need 3 dinners, so it's a bit easier this week. Here are my sweet potatoes for sweet potato fries to go with the baked chicken. And then right here I have chopped up potatoes and onions as the base for my zuppa toscana. Another thing that a lot of people ask me is whether I put this food, this prepped food, into the refrigerator or the freezer. I put it into the refrigerator, not the freezer. You do not ever want to freeze raw vegetables. They will not be good. Here I'm prepping out the carrots, onions, and butternut squash for my butternut squash soup. The recipe that I use for this squash soup is so delicious. It's kind of sweet and creamy, and the way we love to eat it is with some really nice falling apart roast beef on top. We also like to eat breadsticks with it. Whether or not I'll get breadsticks made the day of, who knows. The evening that I'm ready to make this supper, I just throw these things in a roasting pan and coat them with olive oil and salt and pepper. And then I'll put the whole thing in the blender after I'm done with all the other ingredients. There's apple cider and I'm trying to think, cream, a little bit of cream cheese. So good. I'll have Cody link the recipe that I use. It's on rachelcooks.com under Copycat Panera Squash Soup. Next, what I'm gonna make is some granola bars. I don't do a whole lot of baking. Mostly what we eat is lots of fruit and then also like no-bake things like granola bars, date bars, things like that. Normally on Mondays, I would make a gallon of yogurt just to last us through the week, but I can't do that right now because our cow is dry. This is a recipe that comes from this cookbook, Farmhouse Flavors. And Cody will link that in the description. I can't give you this recipe because I don't feel right doing that. I do tweak it quite a bit with granola bars. Anything no bake, you can tweak stuff like crazy and it still turns out. Here is some of our amazing raw butter that I'm going to use as part of the binder for these granola bars. So they're very nutrient dense. These granola bars take organic peanut butter, raisins, raw honey, chocolate chips, vanilla, salt. I actually tweak this recipe quite a bit. So if you get the recipe book and see these granola bars, they're probably not exactly what I'm going to be doing here. May not.
That's going in there.
Our kids really love oatmeal for breakfast, and I have been trying to make so that the oatmeal that they get for breakfast is fermented or soaked in some way. So I'm gonna experiment with this recipe from lauralivesthegoodlife.com, sourdough baked oatmeal. I'm just gonna soak this and stick it in the fridge and then I'll bake it in the morning. I'm not recommending this because I've never actually tried it. I'm just experimenting. 12:30 is our lunch time. We were gone this weekend and so there's not really any food in the house. So for lunch today, we are going to have a fried egg with some shredded cheese on top and apples and peanut butter. Normally for lunchtime, we would eat leftovers from dinner the evening before, but we weren't here for dinner last night and I cleaned out the fridge before we left, so we're making do. One thing people ask all the time is how we make this lifestyle happen, like how are we not just workaholics and all the things. I really feel like one of the secrets to what we do is we don't try to do tons of like winter gardening. The fall and winter are really when we rest and rejuvenate for the next year. My rest time in the afternoon is something that I feel like is very important for me. My kids are upstairs reading right now. That's something that they can do to continue learning. That's completely hands off for me and it gives me a minute to kind of, you know, regroup down here. The way I like to look at it is that in the spring and summer is when we are growing all of the food, and then in the fall and winter is when we're using that food, we're eating that food. So we just really look at it as a time of rest. We don't do things like having hoop houses outside and lots of winter gardening. In like February and March is when I start seeds. And of course, you know, if I feel like it, I'm inside looking through seed catalogs and magazines and putting in my seed order and things like that. but there's no actual like physical garden work and outside work that I'm doing. A lot of people are like, oh, you can leave your carrots in the garden and just cover them with straw. And I know I could, but I'm intentional about not doing that because that takes me outside and it makes life busier for me in the fall and winter. And especially with homeschooling and little kids, I need the time in the fall and winter to spend inside with them, teaching them things, and also just like resting for myself so that I can be recharged to go again in the spring and summer.
While Michelle's getting lunch ready, and then in the afternoons during her rest time and stuff, I'm up here working. Most of what I do is editing these videos. You can probably figure about a minute that you get to watch of our videos takes me about an hour to edit. And as far as like going off of what Michelle was saying about how the gardening kind of winds down and how she tries to make so there's not a lot for her to do during the winter, I feel the same way about with the animal stuff, but obviously it's a little different with that. The garden stuff can pretty much just completely shut down during the winter, the way we have it worked out. But with animal stuff, you still got animals to take care of. And I talked about earlier how I make chores a lot more simple, but there's still stuff going on. Maddie's gonna have a calf, hopefully in a couple weeks. For the first 2 weeks after you have a calf, things are usually pretty crazy. There's a ton of milk, you've got a baby calf to take care of. And then after that, it'll be milking every morning and taking care of that. There's other things we wanna do during the winter too. I wanna learn to make hard cheese. I'm hoping to learn to make mead. It's not like we just do nothing during the winter. We try to make it really, really slow down. And a lot of the way that we do that is by coming up with ways and processes to make it as simple as possible, as streamlined as possible. And that's a lot of what we want to share with you because we want to make this attainable for anybody, that even though you might have a busy, hectic lifestyle, and even though things might be crazy in the spring and summer, during the winter, they really can slow down quite a bit.
After quiet time, usually around about 4 o'clock, today it actually got a little bit later because of the filming, but we all do a reset for the house. The children have their job lists and they help me sweep floors, empty the dishwasher, clean up toys, all the things. I'll work on cleaning up the kitchen or folding laundry and things like that. This is also the time where I usually go on a walk or get some exercise. Today with the filming and also the meal prep, I did not have a chance to do that, and I will not have a chance to do that since it's already about dark outside. It's time to start making supper. I'm just gonna do something really, really simple tonight. We're having baked chicken and sweet potato fries. I'm just whipping up a really simple marinade here. Got avocado oil, balsamic vinegar, and then salt and pepper, some mustard, thyme, smoked paprika, just a little bit of everything. Some maple syrup to make it a little bit sweet. Also gonna put in a tiny bit of liquid smoke. This stuff makes anything good. It gives it like this beautiful grilled flavor. This is a liquid smoke that I found this canning season that I used in my homemade barbecue sauce. Oh my goodness, it is so good. And it doesn't have any of the fake stuff. Like it doesn't have any like of the caramel colorings. It literally is just water and hickory smoke concentrate. I'm gonna bake this chicken at 375 for about an hour and a half or until nice and crispy brown and done all the way through. The chicken's been baking for about an hour now, so I'm gonna turn the oven up and add my sweet potato fries. I'm gonna turn this oven temp up to 425 because that's what the sweet potato fries need to get nice and crispy on the outside, and the chicken will just get this nice crispy skin on the outside with a high temp like that.
One thing that we have really been working towards the last couple years is getting the place where we can actually do stuff together as a family in the evenings and on the weekends. And we do things here and there, but for the last 2 years, I've been pretty much working every evening and every weekend because I'm working 2 full-time jobs. So tonight we are actually gonna have to do some work. Me and Michelle are gonna have to work on this video because we gotta get it done before the Thanksgiving vacation comes. But looking towards the future, spending time together in the evenings is something we want to be the norm for our family. Obviously, this one video doesn't give like a full picture of what it's like to live on a homestead. We did another day in the life video back in the summer. That video is right here. You can watch that next. And if you wanna see one about the spring, all the craziness that goes on, I guess you have to wait till next spring when we do one.